The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air.
You know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God at Kadesh Barnea, about you and me? I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land. And I brought him back a report according to my convictions. But my fellow Israelites who went up with me, they made the hearts of the people melt in fear. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day Moses swore to me,
The land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly.
now then, just as the Lord promised, He has kept me alive for 45 years, since the time He said this to Moses, while Israel moved about in the wilderness. So here I am today, 85 years old. I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I am just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. You yourself heard then that the Anakites were there and their cities were large and fortified. But the Lord helping me, I will drive them out just as He said.
For the past several weeks, we have been discussing the Israelites' journey as they went and conquered the promised land of Canaan. We will cover 12 chapters this week, and we will close out the book of Joshua. We will see the final efforts of the Israelites' attempts to drive out the Canaanites, or sometimes they just left them in place. We will also discuss the Israelite leader Joshua's final words to his people. Be blessed and enjoy.
All right, welcome back to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Thank you all for tuning in again to another week. Housekeeping items again. Definitely, please like and subscribe to the podcast. It's absolutely free of charge. We do not charge for that, so we appreciate your support, and it helps us out tremendously. So this week, for me, I guess my thought would just be, I guess all my friends and family, they know probably when we recorded this because I'm about to date it, but beginning this week, I lost someone who was pretty close to me. So I guess to me, it's just reaching out to your loved ones, friends, family, whoever you consider your loved ones, and just telling them that you love them while they're still here, because you just never know when that time might be. So it's something we might take for granted, but I just feel like it's the only thing I got. Is I was sitting heavy with me this week, like just reach out and let people know how you feel about them while they're here, and you actually could express it and they actually could appreciate it. So you don't want to have no regrets when that time comes. Not to be sullen or anything, but just a friendly reminder.
Yeah, and amen to that. It's a few things in life that we ignore. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't teach others about it. Sometimes we don't teach our kids about it. You know what I'm saying? But that's one of those things, definitely. And it's not one of those things that you should be afraid of, but I feel like it's something that you should be prepared of and prepared for. Whenever I think about, the reality that life is like it can end, I always think about the fact that the Lord bless us with a gift to combat that. It's like you can pass away once, but make sure you don't pass away twice. You know what I mean? And so every day, I feel like that should be on our mind. Like, Jesus can return any day. Our world could end any day, but we got to make sure that after this earthly life is done, our salvation is secured and our eternal life is set in place. You know what I'm saying? So for all of us who have this truth and who know it, it's also our duty to pass that on to our loved ones and to just be a blessing to them. You know what I'm saying? Because they may not be thinking in this way. So
most definitely. Hey, yo, before we even start talking, I'm going to shout out one of our listeners, Twigman. He be commenting. We appreciate the support, Twigman. Keep it up. First time I guess we shout out the listener, but yeah, Twigman, right. You know what's up. All right. As a recap for last week we went over how the Israelites are now in Canaan, and we see how they defeated very swiftly and handily by the help of God, both the northern and the southern kingdoms of Canaan. How with God's help, God said, hey, by tomorrow, this time, these kings will be at your feet. They will be at your hand. And the Israelites laid waste to most of the Canaanites. And a lot of people might say it's gruesome. A lot of people might be like, why? But you got to realize what these people were doing and their practices that they were keeping. I know we hinted about it. And we talked about it a lot, but just as a recap, I mean, these people were worshiping idols galore. They were practicing child sacrifice. And you can see how the Levitical law and some of the laws we went over in Deuteronomy are directly opposed to the practices of the land of Canaan.
I'm glad you mentioned that, bro, because I had forgotten that until I had to do some research on Deuteronomy this week.
Mm-hmm. Like they were directly opposed to the laws of these people. So now that's why when God was saying, yeah, we need to cleanse this land, it was like, yeah, this child sacrificing thing, all these gods, all these different practices, God's like, I'm not having that. So now the Israelites went there, dealt with the majority of the bigger kingdoms. So now in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's a bunch of small villages and little towns left, but most of the bigger established empires or kingdoms have been dealt with. And so now it's time for the Israelites to, start setting up shop. A lot of the heavy lifting has been completed. So now it's time to, divide this land up. And this is where this is essentially where we're picking up from in the book of Joshua. Starting from Joshua 12, buckle your seatbelts because we're going to finish the book of Joshua today. Right. So a lot of things, like we always say, do your own research because in our limited time, we can't cover everything in depth. And we were going back and forth to make this one episode or two. But I think for the ease of listening to this episode, we just said we're going to power through, do it in one big long episode. So it might be an hour and a half episode. So buckle up. Me and you guys will see by the time you start listening. And we'll just roll into Judges next week. So buckle your seatbelts. Here we go.
Let's go. So in Joshua chapter 12, this is something that we have to actually go through and read, but we can give you an overview of chapter 12 unless you wanted to go into it.
Well, I mean, I was just like I said, this is like the main thing from this chapter is the list of kings defeated. And it's about 31 kings. And to me, the reason on the importance of this for me is that one, this ain't no fairy tale. This ain't no once upon a time story. You have the list of kings and cities. You know what I'm saying? And then at the same time, it's like you can count them. Like these are who was in the land of Canaan. These are the Israelites that had to fight. These are historical cities that you actually go back and check. The Israelites had to come in this town and conquer it. And you see with the help of God, they was able to defeat all these kings: Hebron, Jarmuth, Elgalon, Deber, Jaber, Hormah, Arad, Libnah, Bethel, Tapper, Madon, Hazar, Kadesh, John, Nakim, Carmel, and a lot more. So it to me, that was powerful because I mean, like we went through some of the stories and the Bible here summarizes at the end of the day, here's our victory. But it's really powerful just to see that they really went in and they conquered the land and God was really with them. Because I mean, this is a lot of fighting. Like the Bible didn't go into depth with all of these. And I think there was a reference to a book of wars that was kept. So wherever that book is, I think it's probably lost to history now, but that book kept a detailed record of how these battles went.
Yep.
So here we just get like a brief overview, like, yeah, 31 kings. We did what we had to do.
And this actually kind of fulfills prophecy in a way. Well, it fulfills prophecy. I ain't even gonna downgrade it. Because in verse 8, the lands included the hill country, the western foothills, the Arabah, the mountain slopes, the wilderness, and the Negev. These were the lands of the Hittites, the Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. These were their kings. And if you can remember, these names have been, the Lord has mentioned these names many times when he talked about, I'm giving you the land of, the Hittites, the Hivites, the Perizzites. You understand what I'm saying? So you could look at this and see in the checklist, all right, these were all checked off because these were the kings that occupied the land, and now they are no more. They are conquered by Jericho. And this prophecy dates all the way back to when God first was talking to Abraham, telling him about the land of Canaan that he would give, and that was 400, maybe even 500 years prior to this. That was
more than 400 years anyway.
Right.
I guess you do the math.
Not ago, like from you mean from Joshua, right?
Yeah. Right.
So
it's a long time coming.
Right. So that's a long time ago. So,
but I mean, even the beauty in that, it still shows that, I mean, we're going to get into, like, as Joshua has this line too, so I'm actually stealing this line from Joshua, but we see like every promise God has made to you Israelites, he's kept.
Yep.
And so while this promise might have been to Abraham, I remember God told Abraham specifically, yeah, you're not going to see this, but here's what's going to happen. And he gave Abraham the play-by-play from then. We see God still kept his word in the play-by-play. Hundreds of years later, still played out exactly. Even when the first generation faulted up when they were at Canaan and to stay another like 40 years in the desert, they still got their act together and they still made it in.
And it's so crazy because, like, bro, they was trying their best, not literally trying, but their actions, the result of their actions was like as if they were trying their best not to make it in the promised land. Like they were doing everything to not make they was doing everything to aggravate and to upset God while in the wilderness, but only because the grace of God, like you mentioned, and the fact that he keeps his promises, even though we are not worthy, even though we have done nothing to deserve this, you know what I'm saying? You can see that these Canaanites actually made it through, because we could count 3 or more times when God was just like, yo, I'm done. It even comes to a point where God told Moses, like, yo, y'all can go because I already promised y'all this. Y'all can go. I'm just not coming with y'all. You know what I mean? Because
I got a point on this too. Like, and I promise, guys, I know we said we got a lot to go, so we can progress this after this, but think about it. When Moses was talking to God, Moses was saying, God, because of your character, like, keep your promise. And God was like, you're right. My character is not to break my promises. I'm not going to break my promises. So it was like, God said, I made this promise. I'm going to keep it. And that's just the beauty of God, because we, as human beings, we hardly ever keep up our end of the bargain, but God always keeps his end of the bargain up.
Yep.
So now in verse, you got something to say?
Nope.
Oh, my bad. So in chapter 13, we see, I just like how this line starts, because to me, it shows the passage of time. When Joshua had grown old, the Lord said to him, you are now very old, and there are still very large areas of land to be taken over. And so part of me is thinking like, how much time had passed? Because we don't have a estimate. We just know, I feel like Joshua was in battle this last 2 chapters ago, and now they're saying, bro, you old now. But the work still has to be done. And to me, sometimes I think even with our own Christian walks, it's like, we might be old, but we still have more to do. There's still more things to do. There's still more things we could be doing. There's still more people who need to hear the word. There's still more lives we can reach. There's still more people we can touch. So it's like, yeah, we're old, but there's still large areas of land need to be taken over. Yeah, you might be old, but there's still more people you can reach from me. So that's just kind of like a thought that just played through my mind when I read that too. Like, yeah, you old, but what, you think you think you done?
Yeah, you of all people have to complete the mission, because you're the leader of the Israelites. And when you go, it's like a level of organization is going to be lost. And so because I promised this to Moses, and Moses could not achieve this, we know why. You now have to make sure you achieve this before you go, because this is something that was promised, and this is something that has to be established. So in verse 2, this is the land that remains, all the regions of the Philistines and the Geshurites, from the Shihon River on the east of Egypt to the territory of Ekron on the north, all of it counted as Canaanite, though held by the 5 Philistine rulers in Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, the territory of the Avites on the south, all the land of the Canaanites from Ara of the Sidonians as far as Aphek and the border of the Amorites, the areas of Byblos and all Lebanon to the east, from Baal Gad below Mount Hermon to Lebo Hamath. As for all the inhabitants of the mountain regions from Lebanon to Misrephoth Maim, that is all the Sidonians, I myself will drive them out before the Israelites. Be sure to allocate this land to Israel for an inheritance, as I have instructed you, and divide it as an inheritance among the 9 tribes and half tribe of Manasseh. So right here, this is where God's saying, yo, all right, so we've been in this land, y'all was getting busy for quite some time, and not only were y'all fighting on my behalf and conquering these lands, but y'all also were acquiring wealth, you know what I'm saying, acquiring possessions. Y'all were actually building your, you're increasing your finances and just establishing, the commerce and just economic growth throughout all of the Israelites. Y'all were busy doing all of this, but now it's time for y'all to be established in sections of the land. It's time for y'all to set up shop and to actually put the anchor down for everything. And I am going to make sure God is basically saying, I am giving over the rest of the enemies that you all are going to have to subdue just to get this land to you. And then we're going to divide this among the various tribes.
Yeah, I mean, to me too, it's just like, man, y'all know what the mission is from before time. Because remember, before Joshua even came into the land, he read Deuteronomy to them. So y'all know how this land essentially should be divided up. So why are y'all complacent? Y'all know the mission ain't done yet. Y'all know there's still more to be done. So why are y'all complacent? Why are you guys happy with a half inheritance? It's how I'm reading it too. Like, okay, I promise you guys the land. You're in the land, but there's more to be. It's like making it to
completing the mission.
Yeah, completing the mission. It's like you making it to the NBA finals, but you're content with that.
Yeah, and I cool.
I made it to my first NBA finals. I'm cool. Instead of saying, yeah, I'm in the NBA finals. I need this championship. I need this ring. Like, it's like y'all playing with y'all food now. Like, y'all,
it's time to go all the way.
Exactly. Like, finish the mission. Then you could have your level of complacency. Then you could have a relaxed off season. But y'all feel comfortable with what you've accomplished so far, knowing the mission ain't done.
Yep. And so God basically stepped in his wisdom and let y'all know, especially Joshua, because you about to be no more soon. It's about to end for you soon. So let's just finish this part, and then we could go on our merry way. And so basically, the first set of land, I kind of wrote it down. The first divisions, the way they divided the land, they gave it to about, I think it was like 5 of the clans, or 4.5. I mean, if we count the half tribe of Manasseh. So,
and even before that too, just to remind people. So remember when Moses was still alive, and before they crossed the Jordan River, before he died, the tribe of Reuben, Gad wanted to stay across and say, yo, we want to build homes across here. And Moses almost rebuked them, like, why you guys don't want to go fight? And they say, hold on, Moses, we just want to set up our cities here. We leave our women and our children here, and us able-bodied men who can fight will come across with you. So in verse 8, we see they already say, like, the other half tribe of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites, had received the inheritance that Moses had given them on the east side of the Jordan. I see the servant of the Lord has assigned them. So those tribes are on the east. So now everybody else came over west along with the men from these tribes. So that's just like to set the scene. So like when we start talking about these divisional lines, those 2 tribes, they already got their inheritance because they say, yeah, we just want to stay on this side of the river.
Yeah, that's funny though. We see Joshua getting old now, right? That don't means that they was there for that long, because he might have been middle-aged and now he's just old. You understand?
Yeah.
But how long y'all was fighting? I know these men, like, yo, I gotta go back.
I see my wife in a little while now. Like, what's going on? Why are we still here?
Right. So I imagine that, some people take trips, and you know what I'm saying? But
bro,
that's crazy.
Like, even thinking about it, right? Because we're gonna get into this, right? But I think I see why they do what they do,
Why?
Because think about it, like, how we gonna say, like, remember, they had to some of these tribes, the rest of these 9 tribes, to cast some lots. So if I gotta put my name in this bucket, my part of line could be smaller on this side. And if I just say, bro, we just gonna stay over here. Because I ain't gotta worry, but no lot over here. I choosing my own destiny, as they say.
That's true. That's true. And you know what? So Moses had already spoken. If I remember correctly, Moses had already told them about all of this.
Mm-hmm.
By the time they say, "Hey, we picking our side," you know what I mean? So they was like, "Yo, I got my dibs on." See, y'all could cast lots among that area. Cool. I see a whole lot of area. I see a whole lot of land on this side.
Exactly.
And very little competition. You know what I mean? So
exactly. They say, "Yeah, we just stay over here. We like it over here."
Remember we read that? We was like, "Bro, why? Like y'all ain't even make it cross the Jordan to the land of Canaan, and y'all ready to drop anchor?"
Y'all was uncontent with it.
Yeah, they had a plan.
Yeah, they're actually smart in retrospect.
Mm-hmm. And then remember Moses was like, "Yo, that don't make sense." And it's like, "Yeah, it do make sense because we ain't say we ain't coming to fight with y'all now.
Exactly.
We can come to fight." You know what I mean?
They were strategic about this.
That's
they were
funny,
actually
bro.
pretty strategic. So I mean,
yeah.
I read verse 8. So I think verse 9 picks up with describing their territory. Yeah. Verse 9 to 13.
I was about to say it could be a lot of describing, so I don't know if you want to go down, if you want to take that approach.
No. So verse 9 to 13 pretty much describes the territory that was given to them. So I'm gonna pick up in verse 14 because this line just kind of important. But to the tribe of Levi, he gave no inheritance, since the food offerings presented to the Lord, the God of Israel, are their inheritance, as he promised them.
Mm-hmm. So they get it up front.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then so now verse 15 through 23 talks about the tribe of Reuben, exactly what they got. 24 to 28 talks about the tribe of Gad. 29 to 30 talks about the half tribe of Manasseh. So Manasseh was kind of interesting, like we hinted to before. So Manasseh, I'm gonna probably put a map up on the screen. I just gotta remember to do that. But Manasseh had two tribes. So there was an east tribe, and then there's going to be a westerly tribe. So you're going to hear referred to several times the half tribe of Manasseh. There's one half tribe of Manasseh on the east of the Jordan River and another half tribe on the west of the Jordan River. Gets pretty confusing, but at the same time, once you start reading it, you kind of get from, okay, which tribe are we talking about right now? And the map on the screen, if you're on YouTube, that should be on the screen at this moment, should make that clear. And then in verse 32, this is the inheritance Moses had given when he was in the plains of Moab across the Jordan east of Jericho. But to the tribe of Levi, Moses had given no inheritance. The Lord, the God of Israel, is their inheritance, as he promised them. I really wonder if they felt some kind of way.
Bro, I feel some kind of way listening to that, bro. Like, of course, I am a human. I have no wisdom compared to like the Lord's wisdom, and the Lord is always correct. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it just go to show how you have to submit to God, you know. Because we hinted. Oh, you gonna say something?
No.
We hinted to this earlier when they separated the Levites from those who were going out to war. And if you were a Levite, you could not go to war because you have priestly duties just because of your bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
I made a joke and I was like, man, suppose you were like born to fight, you know what I'm saying? But you was born in the Levite clan. But truthfully, you have to be willing to submit to God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was thinking about that this week. Because oftentimes I think about Revelations, and you and I, we spend a great deal of time through the week just talking about Revelations. Like it's become like almost a daily thing. Every day it's the same chapter. Oh, I found out this, I found out that. And I honestly can't wait till we could kind of go into like end time prophecies and stuff like that. But I actually do want to get a good understanding of the Bible before I even go through that. But I think about how, you know, they talk about the mark of the beast and you're not going to be able to buy or sell, right? That's a big deal, especially because now we see situations where we have restrictions due to COVID. I'm not getting into a conspiracy buy. I'm actually going to relate this to my testimony type of thing. And I'm a person, I love the world of art. And art, unfortunately, is like synonymous with entertainment nowadays, because if you do art, you have to entertain people. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're a musician or a poet or an actor or actress, stuff like that. You have to find a way to captivate people's attention. And I spend a lot of time thinking, man, if I want to make a living doing this, I have to do more. And the more I do, the more it's a thought in my mind, bro, this is becoming harder for you to be able to detach. If it comes a time and you're not going to be able to buy or sell because you want it, because you got the seal of God, which all of us want, you know what I'm saying? You have to be willing to turn it off. And so I ask myself, if I was born to sing, you know what I'm saying? Or if I was born to draw or whatever, stuff like that, and I can't make a living off of that, so what? You know what I'm saying? Is that more important than my salvation? You feel me? And like, this is hard for me. It's a hard pill to swallow because I don't even know what to do with this bit of information that I'm thinking about, you know? But I think about the Levites and I kind of understand what's going on. You're a Levite. So that means you get to watch the other 11 tribes get all of this land. And you say, we don't get land because of the agreement that we have, you know? And that could be something where you could start to covet. But at the end of the day, the Lord literally knows best, you know? So despite you feeling this way, you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's unwarranted, but I can understand why you feel that way because you feel left out. You know, that's a natural thing. But you have to be willing to, I don't even know what the term is, but you have to be willing to swallow your pride, or I don't know, carry your cross. I don't know the specific term that I'm thinking of, but you have to be willing to submit to God, basically, is all I'm trying to say. Like, because our ways are not his ways, and we shouldn't lean on our own understanding because he has the infinite amount of wisdom. And there's a lot of things where it's like we can't see the future impacts of any of this. You know, we're only thinking about the right now, and we can't allow that to control us, especially when we see God telling us something that's going to help us for future generations, such as the Levites, you know. But I definitely feel you, bro. Like, I always think, like, I wonder how the Levites feel. Everybody getting their land. You know what I mean? Like, even like, let's say you get paid in advance, right, Earl? Let's say someone pay you for a whole year, right? When you see your people, when you see people getting paid, you might think, man, I missed that feeling. You know what I mean? I get everything one time. You know what I mean? And so, like, I just don't even get to share the experience with people, you know? But at the end of the day, it ain't like you getting the short end of the stick. You still getting the same amount. But, you know, like, it's just a difference, especially when you, like, if you struggle with, like, pride and covetousness and, you know, stuff like that.
Man, there's a couple of things in the New Testament that hint towards this. One that comes to my mind is the parable of, I can't remember exactly which gospel it's found in, but it's essentially, I'm going to tell the story. So it's a parable of this boss man. He hired some workers at the beginning of the day, and he paid them a gold coin. And he said, I'm gonna pay you a gold coin or something to that effect, a gold coin for a day's worth of work. They agreed. Around noon, he went out and he bought someone else. Hey, I'm gonna pay you a gold coin for the rest of the day's work. He agreed, brought the guy to the field. The guy was working. He went back out like almost at the end of the day, bought the next guy, saying, I'm gonna pay you a gold coin for 2 hours worth of work. That was the agreement. At the end of the day, the guys who worked the whole day, they was like mad, like, yo, we worked all day, we only got the gold coin. This guy just came in and he just got the same one as us, but he's saying, yo, this is our agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you mad? You got what you agreed upon. Is it wrong that someone else got the same thing on their agreement? And the parable just makes it seem like, yo, one, you got to swallow your pride, and then two, at the same time, what is the profit of man to gain the whole world but to lose his soul? I know that's in Mark. I do know that. That one's in Mark. But going back to how we thought the Levites would have feel, it's like God already called it to a mission, and you understood your mission ahead of time. And so now when you see these things happening, it's like, all right, God already placed me here for a specific purpose. So my job is to fill out the specific purpose. And even though we might not be getting a land, just even think about it too. In the tribe of Israel, when they were in the desert, the tribe of Levi were in the middle, didn't really have jobs, but the jobs was taking care of the tabernacle, looking after the ark. But they were still, all their needs were still being cared for. They were still getting food. They were still getting money. They were still surviving. So, I mean, if God has done this for us this far, let's think about what he's going to do for us now in our promised land. So to me, it's almost like, even when you're starting to follow God, you got to shift your way of thinking. Because when I go from that, like, okay, I was doing this, but now I was like, okay, now what's going to happen? He's already done this for me. So now let me think about all the other blessings he can enrich in me or through me, even though I might not be getting what I want, but it's like God's still going to work it out from a better way. Go for it.
Bro, I just think about a few things, and we kind of I'm kind of
Straight.
straying off. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, because this ain't the same, like an apples to apples comparison, but the parable with the people in the vineyard, what you were just mentioning, like, that reminds me of the thief on the cross, right? This man apparently did a lot of things that was not of God. You know what I'm saying?
Merited crucifixion.
Right. You understand? Like, he wasn't like Jesus. Jesus was falsely accused. You probably earned your conviction or whatever the judge try you, your sentencing. You probably earned that. But last minute, this man come and was rewarded the same eternal life that if you and I, we stay devoted for our whole life, are going to get. Or even just, giving our life to Christ, that same eternal life, we actually trying. But to the person who only tried for like probably less than a day before he died, probably a couple hours, you know what I'm saying, going to heaven. And you could turn to God and be like, yo, that's foul, bro. Like, that's crazy. Like, you owe me more now. And it reminded me of the prodigal son. The prodigal son, the brother, he was mad that the father was rejoicing when the son was back. Like, yo, you rejoicing for him who already do a bunch of craziness and come back, but I never do nothing crazy. Where am I rejoicing is? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you gotta understand how how selfish that is. Because the goal is salvation. You know what I mean? The goal is salvation. In this case, the goal was getting into the promised land, and the goal was setting up your territory. You know what I'm saying? The Levites had a specific task. And because of that, they had incentives all along the way. You know what I'm saying? And now the people who did not necessarily have incentives, because we don't really have evidence of what they was just getting on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? We know when they conquered the land, they get to plunge. You know what I'm saying? But now it's their time to reap. And we still thinking like, wow, what now the Levites feel? The same Levites who was benefiting the whole time, like straight the whole time, and still will benefit later on in this chapter. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to understand, we have to kind of just stop being selfish, like just to be real. Like, everything ain't about us. The world ain't about us. The universe ain't about us. What the disciples used to ask, who gonna be sitting next to you in the kingdom? You know what I'm saying? Like, they having multiple conversations. Some of the disciples even bring their mom. Hey, mommy, go and ask Jesus who could, you know what I'm saying? Maybe he'll answer you out of respect or something like that. And so like this the same kind of mindset we continue to have, but throughout the parables and through Jesus' teaching, Jesus snapping us out of that. Yo, what you even asking? You don't even know what you're asking for right now. You don't know what come with this. You know what I'm saying? And truthfully, we have to remember that we don't deserve nothing. That's how I try to feel. Like, the wages of sin is death. You know what I'm saying? It's only through God's mercy that we don't have death and we actually have blessings. But now we can't be choosers now. We can't be pushy. Oh, well, we could make our requests known unto God, but we can't be calling shots on nothing like that. That's just my thing. We can move on, bro.
All right. So picking up in verse 14, just to speed through this little part and just get a little context here. I'm going to just read it. These are Israelites received as an inheritance in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar, the priest, Joshua, son of Nun, and the heads of the tribal clans of Israel allotted to them. Their inheritance were assigned by lot to the 9.5 tribes as the Lord had commanded through Moses. So yeah, here again, we see that the tribes are being allotted lots, cast in lots, who gets which part. So as Kazi said pre-pod, that y'all can't say there's no favoritism here, or this tribe, that yada, yada, yada. No. I mean, I'm sure the Holy Spirit guided the lots, but at the same time, as you see, it was the high priest there and the leader. So you can't even say it's Joshua having favoritism, because the priest right there was supposed to keep, the religious aspect of it and keep it fair and honest was also there. And then, so we see the 9.5 tribes, the Lord has commanded through Moses. I mean, and then you see Moses had granted the 2.5 tribes their inheritance east of the Jordan, but had not granted the Levites inheritance among the rest. Y'all might be doing the math. That's 13 tribes, but you also got to remember Joseph tribe was really 2 tribes, because remember when Joseph had Israel, Jacob, his father, bless his 2 sons, Ephraim and Manassas, and the whole hand switching thing and the younger got the bigger blessing than the older. Check out our Joseph episode if you want to go more in depth in that. So we see the Levites had no share of their own. Again, this is like the third time the Bible is repeating that, but only towns to live in. So we see they didn't really have any, they had no share of land, but they only had a little town to live in with pasture lands and flocks and herds. So you see they still had a little something. And so the Israelites divided the land just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So now we see there's 2.5 tribes to the east, and now we're going to divide the other 9.5, and the Levites are all going to have your little town.
Yep. And now we run into our old friend,
Caleb.
Yep. So Caleb, well, he was one of the 12 spies. Joshua was also one of the 12 spies. So we know that they are friends, and they are pretty old. If Joshua was old, Caleb is definitely old. You know what I'm saying? And so one thing about Caleb, so just to backtrack, the 12 spies, they came to scope out this very land that they now have, and Caleb was outspoken. He gave a good report. Joshua as well, but Caleb was really the ringleader, saying, yo, I believe in God. God give us this land. It's a go. And the other 10 were like, no, the descendants of Anak were there. You know what I'm saying? Like the giants, they're gonna destroy us. And they became so upset with Caleb and Joshua to the point that they were trying to stone them. They spread seeds of discourse between the entire Israelite camp, saying, yo, the Lord should have just leave us in the desert to die. You know how the Israelites do it. It's just pretty on track with how it's pretty consistent with how they complain throughout the book of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. And so now, and when Moses was dying in the book of Deuteronomy, he reflected on this, on the 12 spies, and he said how Caleb was so outspoken and how the Lord will bless him with whatever his feet touch. You know what I'm saying? Like that's gonna be his. And so now that they had already destroyed like at least 31, they had destroyed about 31 kings, and a lot of the land was for the taking. Now Caleb is now reminding Joshua, hey, I'm coming to claim what has been promised to me by God. So in verse 6, so Joshua 14 verse 6, now the people of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, said to him, you know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God at Kadesh Barnea, about you and me? I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land. And I brought him back a report according to my convictions. For my fellow Israelites who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt in fear. So it's funny because Joshua started off with the people of Canaan hearts melting in fear because of the Most High God, and the Israelites of old, the generation above them, their hearts melted in fear because of the Canaanites. So on that melt in fear, I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day, Moses swore to me, the land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. Now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said this to Moses. While Israel moved about in the wilderness, so here I am, about 85 years old. And he exclaimed that when he said that. I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I am just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Old habits die hard is basically what he's saying.
Caleb ready for the smoke.
I'm telling you, now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. You yourself heard then that the Anakites were there and their cities were large and fortified. But the Lord helping me, I will drive them out just as he said. Then Joshua blessed Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and gave him Hebron as his inheritance. So Hebron has belonged to Caleb, son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, ever since, because he followed the Lord, the God of Israel, wholeheartedly. Hebron used to be called Kiriath Arba after Arba, who was the greatest man among the Anakites. The land had rest from war. So yeah, we see Caleb came to claim back what's his, And so in the midst of that, we continue with the allotment for the rest of the Israelite clans. So Joshua 15, 1 through 12 was the allotment for Judah. So now when we go to verse 13, in accordance with the Lord's command to him, Joshua gave to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, a portion of Judah, Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron. Arba was the forefather of Anak. From Hebron, Caleb drove out the 3 Anakites, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai, the sons of Anak. Now, Caleb is a gangster, bro.
Well, Caleb don't play.
Caleb don't play because I just catching on what happening right here, bro.
Caleb had this boiling in him for 45 years, bro.
Yes, bro. And so 45 years ago, the whole Israelite clan was afraid of the Anakites. Caleb, at the age 85, is saying, bro, I just as strong then as now, and I ready for them. I was waiting for this moment. You understand? So now Caleb gone and do just that. He drove out 3 Anakites, Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai, the sons of Anak. From there, he marched against the people living in Debir, formerly called Kiriath Sefer. And so now Caleb reached a point where he like, all right, I'm tired of fighting. What
was me?
I can let the young boys do the dirty work now. So Caleb, in Joshua 15, verse 16, and Caleb said, I will give my daughter Aksa in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Kiriath Sefer. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's brother, took it. So Caleb gave his daughter Askar to him in marriage. So you can see war runs in that family. Caleb nephew say, all right, I up for the challenge, man. I can do it. And so Caleb gave Othniel his daughter Askar to marry. One day when she came to Othniel, she urged him to ask her father. She urged him to ask her father for a field. When she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her, what can I do for you? She replied, do me a special favor. Since you have given me land in the Negev, give me also springs of water. So Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. And so, so from verse 20 straight through to a little ways down, verse 63, we go in depth into the people of Judah, the lineage of Judah, and just the people who dwelt there, as well as the cities and the towns and villages that they inhabited. Verse 63, which is important, Judah could not dislodge the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, Jebusites live there with the people of Judah.
So there's only a couple things I want to point out about this story, just random facts before we move on. One, Caleb was indeed from the tribe of Judah. So the whole thing, he was in the tribe of Judah. So Caleb was a part of the tribe of Judah. He was a descendant of Judah. So he was in the tribe. So Bethlehem and we see a Hebron, they were in the tribe of Judah's territory. And so we see the tribe of Judah was almost led by his boldness and his faith in God. Because we see from 45 years ago, Caleb was one that said, yeah, we could attack them. And then remember, this is the whole Israelite camp, the other 12 tribes who were like, no, we can't. We see one tribe, the main people they were scared of, the sons of Anak was there. Caleb was like, okay, my tribe alone can go and deal with them. And he was confident with it. He asked to go over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm probably sure like that's the lot they got, but he was like, yeah, no, we going over there. We are going to take this.
Same time, God already promised him, bro, what you want is yours. You know what I mean? So I don't think lots even mattered specifically there. You understand? Or it might have just so happened that whatever the part of the lot, he was like, all right, I want this section of the lot. You know?
Exactly. And then the next thing too, because of their faith, Judah's tribe actually got one of the biggest portions of the split of the land. So I just want to say like their faith in God, because you see Caleb is saying, if God's going to go with me, if he goes with me, we can do this. So I know for a fact we can do this because God is with us. So he went and he did what he had to do. So that's just one thing to point out there. That's all I had.
All right, that's sweet. Because it was interesting when I was listening to it. You know, you see the names Jerusalem and Bethlehem and all of these names. So it definitely and this the time when these were like pagans occupied it. You understand? It's the original, and that's not what we know today for those cities. So now on to chapter 16, the allotment for Ephraim and Manasseh. So basically verse 1, the allotment for Joseph began at Jericho, east of the springs of Jericho, and went up from there through the desert into the hill country of Bethel. It went on from Bethel, that is Luz, crossed over to the territory of Archites in Ataroth, descended westward to the territory of Japhlethites as far as the region of Lower Beth Horon, and on to Giza, ending at the Mediterranean Sea. So Manasseh and Ephraim, the descendants of Joseph, received their inheritance. So now verse 5, straight through to verse 10. Verse 9. Mm-hmm. So that's basically the boundary for Ephraim. Verse 10, this another pin right here, verse 10. They did not dislodge the Canaanites living in Gezer. To this day, the Canaanites live among the people of Ephraim, but are required to do forced labor. And so these past two, the last verses in these past two chapters, it makes mention that there are Canaanites living among that land, both of those lands, and also it makes mention that they tried to expel those Canaanites, but they could not. So Ephraim actually was like, bro, all right, y'all ain't living here for free. Y'all doing forced labor. So Ephraim basically was like kind of putting them, and I don't know if it's indentured servitude or slavery straight out, but Ephraim was putting them to work, no lie. Mm-hmm. And these were his enemies, the enemies of the Israelites. Mm. You have anything to say on that?
Nope.
Chapter 17. This was the allotment for the tribe of Manasseh as Joseph's firstborn. That is for Machir, Manasseh's firstborn. Machir was the ancestor of Gileadites, who had received Gilead and Bashan because the Macharites were great soldiers. So this allotment was for the rest of the people of Manasseh, the clans of Abiezer, Helek, Azriel, Shechem, Hefer, and Shemida. These are the other male descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph, by their clans. So, no lie. They go from verse 3.
No lie.
From verse 3 to verse 6, talking about the lineage, more of Joseph's lineage through Manasseh. Mm-hmm. And then verse 7 through verse 12, they go to
describe the
territories. Now, at the end, it follows the same trend. Verse 12, it's not the end of the chapter, but it's the end of that description. Yet the Manassites were not able to occupy these towns, for the Canaanites were determined to live in that region. However, when the Israelites grew stronger, they subjected the Canaanites to forced labor, but did not drive them out completely. The people of Joseph said to Joshua, "Why have you given us only one allotment and one portion for an inheritance? We are a numerous people, and the Lord has blessed us abundantly." So now we can see where the lot system, people have some qualms with the lot system. Hey, you only give us one lot. We so big, we can't even fit. And then guess what? We couldn't even fit because the Canaanites was occupying most of these areas, And verse 15, Joshua was like, bro, if you are so numerous, Joshua answered, and if the hill country of Ephraim is too small for you, go up into the forest and clear land for yourselves. There in the land of the Perizzites and Raphaites. The people of Joseph replied, the hill country is not enough for us. So even that wasn't enough for them. And all the Canaanites who live in the plain of chariots fitted with iron, both those in Beth Shan and its settlements and those in the valley of Jezreel. But Joshua said to the tribes of Joseph, to Ephraim and Manasseh, you are numerous and very powerful. You will have not only one allotment, but the forested hill country as well. Clear it, and its farthest limits will be yours. Though the Canaanites have chariots fitted with iron, and though they are strong, you can drive them out.
So for me here, that's one thing. We see the Canaanites they got iron now, so it's real. But in all seriousness, you see Joshua saying, okay, how I'm interpreting this, Earl, where's your faith? Y'all know y'all strong. Y'all worried about what they got, but y'all got God on y'all side, and God already tell you the land is yours. So where's your faith? Yeah, they strong. They chariots got iron. But you see what Joshua say? You can drive them out. And to me, all thing I can just imagine what's playing in Joshua's head. Be strong and courageous. Mm-hmm. We have done, I've led y'all do most of the hard work. So now you guys, as your own individual tribe, their kings are gone. Go there and finish them off.
See, but now notice this, right? Joshua tell like Manasseh, like what was that? Ephraim? That was the other tribe of Manasseh. Mm-hmm. He was telling that, right? But the first tribe in chapter 16, he was saying, well, maybe I'm mixing up, but anyway, to Ephraim, they did not dislodge the Canaanites living in Jesus, right? But now when we see in chapter 17, Joshua basically saying, y'all can do this. I don't know if this specifically go to Judah and Ephraim, but to Manasseh, he was saying, bro, y'all can do this. You know what I'm saying?
Because I think the difference is like these they were specifically asking for more land. The other tribe, Ephraim was like, okay, cool, we can't move y'all, but we're just gonna put y'all as servants. Be cool, we get. These said, they saying, no, we want more land. Joshua said, okay, here you go. He's like, oh yeah, but the Canaanites still there. And Joshua's like, what does that mean? You want more land, go get it. It's yours. You know what I'm like? That's how I interpret it. Like, you want more? The land there to go get. Go for it.
And another thing, the Bible is doing so subtle, and I only saying that, but we interpret it so subtly. Verse 12 and 13. Yet the Manassites were not able to occupy these towns, for the Canaanites were determined to live in that region. However, when the Israelites grew stronger. They subjected. Mm-hmm. Right. So this time had passed, bro. They either trained or they multiplied, you know what I'm saying, to the point where they were able to overthrow them. So time was going past. This wasn't like one day. They tell the Canaanites to leave and they was like, no. And then the next day they could go. No. We might have trained for like five years or a year or whatever. And now we back and we like, no, we making you all do forced labor or something, you know?
So yeah, like to me, it's like, where's your faith? If you, God already promised you, go and conquer your land that you need to go conquer. So now I think we're in chapter 18.
Yeah, verse 18.
The whole assembly of the Israelites gathered at Shiloh and set up a tent of meeting there. The country was brought under their control. But there were still 7 Israelite tribes who had not yet received their inheritance. So as we see, we already went through those tribes now. I see it's still 7 more. So Joshua said to the Israelites, how long will you wait before you begin to take possession of the land the Lord God, the God of your ancestors, has given to you? Appoint 3 men of each tribe. I will send them out to make a survey of the land and write a description of it according to the inheritance of each. Then they will return to me. You are to divide the land into 7 parts. Judah is to remain in its territory on the south, and the tribes of Joseph in their territory on the north. After you have written descriptions of the 7 parts of the land, bring them here to me, and I will cast lots for you in the presence of the Lord our God. The Levites, however, do not get a portion among you, because the priestly service of the Lord is their inheritance.
Do not forget.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but it was just...
Do not forget.
It's just funny. And Gad and Reuben and the half tribe of Manasseh have already received their inheritance on the east side of the Jordan. Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave to them. As the man started on their way to map out the land, Joshua instructed them, go and make a survey of the land and write down the description of it. Return to me, and I will cast lots for you at Shiloh in the presence of the Lord. So the man left and went through the land. They wrote the description on a scroll, town by town, in 7 parts, and returned to Joshua in the camp in Shiloh. Joshua then cast lots for them in Shiloh in the presence of the Lord, and he distributed the land to the Israelites according to their tribal divisions. Before we even get into anything, bro, that survey take a while. I'm just saying, because I don't know what type of technology they had, but that took a while. That ain't no little small, like how vast this land is. That isn't no little small thing to do. That took some time, and just shows how educated they were too. That's like, you take a survey of the land, describe who got which land, how is it drawn up, and that kind of thing. They was able to do that. So that's pretty impressive, speaking from like engineering perspective.
Bro, yeah, no lie. Because all right, so man, this is a super tangent, but I know it take long because you know we have Fox Hill Day in the Bahamas, right? Mm-hmm. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but the slaves were freed in the Bahamas, right? Mm-hmm. But the slaves that resided in Fox Hill, they did not know that they were to be freed now, but it took the slaves from one end of the island 7 days just to make it to the other end of the island to communicate with them that y'all should be free now. And that's why their emancipation is a week later on that side of town. And bro, this a week and our island is a dot, bro. Our island is small, bro. Like,
exactly.
So I know this take time. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But then now we see Joshua, because remember, God already came to Joshua and was like, "Are you getting all like what you waiting on?" Now we seeing Joshua, after some tribes already claimed their land, Joshua's like, "What the rest of y'all waiting on?" But the funny thing about it too, now we seeing, you say, okay, guess what? The set already took action. Whatever they took is already theirs. So we're going to survey everything around it. You see, the kingdom of Judah, they can stay in the south. They say in kingdom of Judah, they ain't the kingdom yet, so my bad, jumping ahead. But the tribe of Judah, they stay into the south. So whatever they got, that's them. The tribes of Joseph, whatever they get, that's them. So now let's survey everything else and let's see what's left. And the rest of y'all 9 tribes, y'all can get this, because clearly y'all wasting some time now. You got anything else?
Nah.
All right. So in verse 11, so we started in chapter 18, verse 11, we see Benjamin was the first up. So the first lot came up for the tribe of Benjamin according to its clans. There are a lot of territory lay between the tribes of Judah and the tribes of Joseph. The map should be on screen. You can see exactly where they are, and they are quite nestled in between the tribes of Judah and the tribes of Joseph. Verses 12 through 19 describe their territory, as you should probably see on screen. And then the Jordan formed the boundary on the eastern side. There were boundaries that marked the inheritance of the clans of Benjamin on all sides, the tribe, and then verse 21 to 28 goes into their clans.
Bro,
but
I just was fact checking something. That's why I was laughing, because earlier I was saying that they cast lots. Anyway, I could just clarify. God told Moses to cast lots for the land. Mm-hmm. And I think that was Numbers 26. Yeah, Numbers 26 verse 55. And God, Ephraim, and half tribe of Manassas said they was going to stay on the other side of the Jordan in verse 36. You understand? So if this happened in chronological order, they probably already see could estimate the division of the land and was like, yeah, we probably better off over there. So they probably made a more educated decision. You know what I'm saying? Instead of leaving it to guessing, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just thought that was funny.
So in chapter 19, Simeon was up. The second lot came for Simeon according to its clans. Their inheritance lay within the territory of Judah, and included, just on the map, you can see a little circle down to the south. That's the tribe of Simeon. Verses 2 to 8 talks about their region. And this was the inheritance of the tribe of Simeonites according to its clans. The inheritance of the Simeonites was taken from the share of Judah because Judah's portion was more than they needed. So the Simeonites received their inheritance within the territory of Judah. But to me, that also speaks to Caleb's and the tribe of Judah's determination. Mm. Because remember, they went and conquered that land as we spoke about it earlier. So now Yep. Joshua was like, hold on, guys, let's be reasonable.
Come on, yeah.
Let's be reasonable.
Yeah. But they had a lot of land because Caleb had a good portion of the land. You know, I think Judah might be the most in-depth one out of everyone. And it's the biggest portion of land for sure. And they still had Canaanites. And it was still enough to the point where they was like, all right, we can give something to Simeon because our land is too big. Mm-hmm. We don't need all this land.
The third one went to Zebulun. The fourth one went to Issachar. The fifth one went to Asher. The sixth lot went to Naphtali. The seventh lot went to Dan. And
then they give a lot. They made an allotment for Joshua as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So in verse 49. When they had finished dividing the land into its allotted portions, the Israelites gave Joshua the son of Nun an inheritance among them. As the Lord had commanded, they gave him the town he asked for, Timnath-Serah, in the hill country of Ephraim, and he built up the town and settled there. These are the territories that the Eleazar the priest, Joshua the son of Nun, and the heads of the tribal clans of Israel by lot at Shiloh in the presence of the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting. So they had to finish dividing the land. In chapter 20 of Joshua, it talks about the Seas of Refuge. And we talked about this again, I think, in the Leviticus chapter and some of the Deuteronomy. But just as a recap, the Seas of Refuge was essentially, it was a part of their judicial system. So if someone was accused of killing a person accidentally, they might flee to the cities of refuge to find protection from the person who wants to kill them or find revenge on them until they were able to be tried in front of a judge or in front of like one of the elders. So essentially it was saying, so you can have a fair trial, run, and get to the next city. And then think about it, like once you get to the Sea of Refuge, no one was allowed to kill you, and no one should have killed you. You should have had time to await your trial and, have a fair chance to plead your case.
Yeah. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah. I wish something like that survived to this day, but it doesn't really happen. Then I think, and how corrupt the world is now, what would it mean? Yeah,
and then God in the judicial system for real. So yeah, you'd need God. Like you'd need God in real life, not just we claim or we swear unto the Bible type of, you know what I mean? No, we need actual consulting God and discernment for this to happen. But I think this was pretty legit too, because the elders, they were to stand in front of the gate and not let the person who looking for revenge, they not letting them in. You know what I'm saying? Or they not giving the fugitive over to them. I thought that was pretty cool, pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. So now we see in verse 20, chapter 21, the Levites. I don't know if you want to summarize this. We could go through it, but the Levites essentially came asking for their land. Hey, Eleazar, Joshua, God said you're supposed to give us some towns to live in. So I can imagine they see everyone getting they fair share too. It's like, hey, so where are we going to live amongst all of this? Mm-hmm. And so again, they casted some lots for like the different, because remember, even in the tribe of Levi, there was like some different sub branches. So we see the first lot came for the Kohathites from the clan of Kohath. The Levites, who were descendants of Aaron, the priests were allotted 13 towns from the tribes of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin. The rest of the Kohath's descendants were allotted 10 towns from the clans of Ephraim, Dan, and the half of Manasseh. The descendants of Gershon were allotted 13 towns from the tribe of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali. And essentially, so what we're seeing is that they didn't really have like a designated portion, but they were given towns within the lands of the other tribes.
Yep.
That's like the best way I could describe it. So yeah, you have a town over here in the land of Judah. You have a town over here in the land of Dan, Gad, Naphtali. That's essentially what they got. Yeah, and the rest of the chapter really goes into depth, talking about some of the descendants, where they settled down, how many settled down here, the total number of towns allotted to the clans was this. And then so I'm going to just pick up in verse 43. So the Lord gave Israel all the land he had sworn to give their ancestors, and they took possession of it and settled there. The Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he had sworn to their ancestors. Not one of their enemies withstood them. The Lord gave all their enemies into their hands. Not one of the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Everyone was fulfilled.
Boy.
Everyone. And so now in chapter 22, I guess I'm going to just giving a brief synopsis. So again, remember we said those were those three tribes, well, 2.5 tribes that came over to help. So now we see the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh. They essentially went to Joshua and said, hey, well, Joshua went to them and said, hey, you have done all that Moses had commanded you. You guys came over here, you kept your word, you helped us conquer the land. And so now that everyone's settled, everyone has their land, you guys can return home.
And Josh, like 45 years, bro. No, it wouldn't have been 45 years.
Yeah, it was like 5.
It would have been like 5 years.
Yeah, like 5 years. Yeah. That's still a long time.
I was thinking about Caleb just now.
Yeah, that's still a long time. Because even I was thinking that too, because like when Caleb said that, I was like, okay, so y'all been like at this for like 5 years.
Yeah, because he was 40. He had to sit out in the desert for 40 more years, and then it was 5 years. Yeah. So
yeah, like that's something. So like we on in verse 6, Joshua blessed them and sent them away, and they went to their homes. And then he blessed them. When Joshua sent them home, he blessed them, saying, return to your homes with your great wealth, your large herds of livestock, your silver and your gold, bronze and iron, and a great quantity of clothing, and divide the plunder from your enemies with your fellow Israelites. Oh, that would make sense too, because they are returning home with their spoils of war. So they're like, yeah, y'all returning home with good wealth now. Hey, yeah, we bringing some of this across the Jordan.
We all lit. Hey, but this time they have to take a boat across the Jordan.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. It's like, did he raise the rod back up in the Bible? Just didn't talk about it because like,
right.
And they have a bunch of sheep and stuff too. So like, how y'all really pulling this off now? They might, who knows? He might have just opened it back up and the Bible just didn't document it. That's purely speculation. They had to build a really big boat and cross the Jordan River.
Or they just take the long way. They take the long way.
Hey, I'd be so mad.
No way. Ain't no way they did that.
No way.
They probably use a boat though.
Probably. That's the most logical explanation.
Yeah.
It doesn't involve anything supernatural. And so now the Israelites, I think there was something else that I wanted to mention in this chapter. In verse 21, then Reuben, Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh replied to the heads of the clan of Israel, the mighty one, God the Lord, the mighty one, God the Lord, he knows, and let Israel know. If this had been in rebellion or disobedience to the Lord, do not spare us this day. If we had built our own altar, so I think it was something about like the altar disagreement. Pardon me. Hold on.
See, but one thing I like about this though is that at first, when Moses was kind of skeptical about that decision to stay on that side, you know what I'm saying? Like, why y'all being weird, like y'all being selfish and all that. But we can see Joshua is actually commanding them, saying that y'all really stood, y'all stood the test of time. Like y'all did this for 5 years. Y'all wasn't being anxious to just up and abandon ship. Y'all fulfill y'all duties, and it come to a point where I telling y'all to leave. You know what I mean? It ain't like y'all just saying, "Oh, we gotta go, you know." And so y'all come and y'all complete the job, and that's noble of them.
And they still got blessed for doing it too. I mean, yeah, I lost my other point, so we could keep it moving if we want. Or if you got the next point, you could go for it.
Nah. You want to continue reading?
I was going to go to 23 and just talk about the Joshua's farewell.
All right.
Unless you want to read through all of that. All right, so I have to get back there now. So in chapter 23 of the book of Joshua, I'm going to just start reading. After a long time it had passed, and the Lord had given Israel rest from all the enemies around them. Joshua, by then a very old man, summoned all of Israel, the elders, the leaders, the judges, the officials, and said to them, I am very old, in case you couldn't see.
Right. You
yourselves have seen everything the Lord your God has done to all these nations for your sake. It was the Lord your God who fought for you. Remember how I have allotted as an inheritance for your tribes and all the lands of the nations that remain, the nations I conquered between the Jordan and the Mediterranean Sea in the west. The Lord your God himself will push them out for your sake. He will drive them out before you, and you will take possession of their land, as the Lord your God promised you. Be very strong. Be careful to obey all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, without turning aside to the left or to the right. Do not associate with these nations that remain among you. Do not invoke the names of their gods or swear by them. You must not serve them or bow down to them, but you are to hold fast to the Lord your God, as you have until now. The Lord has driven out before you the great powers of the nations. To this day, none has been able to withstand you. One of you roots out 1,000 because the Lord your God fights for you, just as he promised. So be very careful to love the Lord your God. But if you turn away and ally yourselves with the survivors of these nations that remain among you, and if you intermarry with them and associate with them, then you may be sure that the Lord your God will no longer drive out these nations before you. Instead, they will become snares and traps for you, whips on your backs and thorns in your eyes, until you perish from this good land which the Lord your God has given to you. Now I'm about to go away of all the earth. You know with all your heart and soul that not one of all the good promises the Lord your God gave you has failed. Every promise has been fulfilled. Not one has failed. But just as all the good things the Lord your God has promised you have come to you, so he will bring on you all the evil things he has threatened, until the Lord your God has destroyed from you this good land he has given to you. If you violate the covenant of the Lord your God, which he had commanded you, and you go and serve the gods and bow down to them, the Lord's anger will burn against you, and you will quickly perish from the good land he has given to you. And that's the entire of chapter 23. And I mean, Kaz, you want to kick it off, or you want me to say? I mean, I got something I wanted to say, but to me, it's like I like the comparison between this and the book of Deuteronomy, because most of the book of Deuteronomy was Moses' final speech to his parting words to the tribe of Israel before he died and he couldn't go into the promised land. So it was his parting words to them, and this kind of echoes back to that, because he's saying, "Guess what, guys? I'm about to go." But again, just like how Moses recalled their whole journey up to that point, Joshua's recalling their whole journey in a brief synopsis that's recorded here, but I can imagine going into more detail. But hey, think about what all the Lord has done for us since we got here. Every nation that we have gone against, with God's help, we have conquered. God fought those battles for us. He drove them out. Yeah, I might have been the head. I might have conquered these lands, but it was really God. Guess what, guys? Not one promise did he break. Every promise he made to us, he has kept. We've seen it fulfilled. Be strong and obey the law of God. Don't turn to the left and to the right. Obey the law in the law of the book of Moses. And he say again, these nations around you, don't worship their gods. Don't swear to them. Don't intermarry with them. Giving no specific instructions, reminding you all of this. You already have the law of Moses. I remind you guys of this again. Don't do these things. The Lord will bless you. If you don't, keep following His word. Don't worship these idols. Don't do these things. But if you do, the same good land that you fought so hard to get, the same good land that we have conquered will be taken away from you. These same nations that you guys might want to be like, they will be snares to you and traps to you. Like, just don't fall for it. That's like, and it's really harkening back to Moses. Moses went way more in depth with the blessings and the curses. If you don't do this, you will get. If you do this, these are all the blessings you will get. You don't do this, this is all the things these are all the curses you are going to befall. But Joshua's saying, hey, if you value the confidence in the Lord your God, this land, and needless to say, you serve the other gods and bow down to them, the Lord's anger will burn against you, and all this essentially will be for nothing. You will perish from this good land quickly.
Straight up. And Joshua don't have to go in depth because everything else is already in writing. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just have to tell you to listen and read this book and follow this book. And I just have to remind you what's going to happen if you don't. And I feel like this is important of all of the great leaders to do. You got to give them your last words. Give them the words to resonate with you. Because you ain't gonna be able to, I can't look over you all no more. I about to go. You understand? I am about to leave this earth, Joshua is saying, And at the same time, you're about to go on the other side of the Jordan too. So who knows what type of culture y'all like and what y'all really into. But I trying to tell you what should be done. And if you don't do what should be done, what will be done after that? You know what I'm saying? And it's God's will be done.
Mm-hmm.
And that just go for it. That go for everybody. If you look at what we just went through, the Israelites are outnumbering the Canaanites. For everyone, every land that they mention Canaanites, they don't make it seem like, oh, it was a lot of Canaanites. It was like, oh, it was just these amount of Canaanites that they just couldn't get rid of. But you know that, and even among that, most of them are being like forced to do hard labor. Forced to do labor, I should say. So to me, that showed me that y'all outnumbered, that y'all have outnumbered the Canaanites, And so now it ain't no reason for y'all to be, it ain't no reason for y'all to be taking up any cultures from them. Ain't no reason for y'all to be learning from them. It's too much of y'all. Y'all can learn from the Reubenites. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all can learn from the tribe of Dan, the tribe of all. Like, it's so much tribes to choose from. Don't learn from the Canaanites.
Man, to me, it's just so funny how easily we're led astray. Because I'm thinking about the children of Israel, right? And I'm putting myself in that shoes, right? Because my first thought just now was, why would I want to take something from this culture that I just destroyed? Clearly, your God wasn't powerful enough to fight my God, because my God handedly defeated you guys. There was no like, oh, there's a 50-50 tug of war. No, like, you guys were handily and swiftly defeated. So now why am I going to adopt these customs? But I'm like, it's so easy how it's so interesting how easily we're led astray. Because you guys know the history. You guys know what you've been through. You guys have seen the miracles. You guys have seen for yourselves how you was able to conquer this land. And I know it's foreshadowing, but we know what happens to the tribe, the children of Israel. And I'm just like, it's so interesting because they know what's going to happen. Like they know the ramifications for their actions, but they still, but we still see
ramifications.
Serious ramifications for their actions. But they still let us straight because I'm like, and it's just so powerful how alluring sin and sinful practices can be.
But bro, I already could imagine, and this is me speculating, I already could imagine people in Israelites and the Israelite camp saying, oh, ain't nothing wrong with pagan worship, bro. But it's just another way of thinking, or it's an alternative lifestyle or something like that. Like the type of language people use when they want you to conform to their beliefs. You understand? And it's like the free thinkers, the ones who say, no, bro, it's cool, bro. Like when I was growing up, I wasn't taught this by my family, but I accepted the idea that, oh, just everybody have different beliefs. You know what I'm saying? Your belief isn't better than, isn't superior to anyone else's belief. But bro, there's fault to that because some beliefs are going to land you in hell. You know what I'm saying? Bro, just straight up. Straight up. And we have the assurity that the Lord will come back when everyone has a chance to hear his word. You understand what I'm saying? And the Lord is righteous. And those who end up not going to heaven, it is by their work. You know what I'm saying? And them not heeding to, the truth or whatever. But even in a world where, let's say hypothetically, we had it wrong, right? Hypothetically, bro, if someone else had the truth, right? It's your duty to share this with me and not just to think, oh, everybody have a different way of thinking. If you know I going down the wrong path, if you know that my lifestyle and my sincere beliefs is going to lead me to a path of destruction, how do you feel content at night saying, oh, no, brother, it's just a regular way. It's just another way of thinking. No, bro. Like I remember as a child, it was this talk show host. Everybody knows I ain't shout out or nothing. But she, on one of her shows, she was saying how Jesus isn't the only way. You know what I'm saying? And that gave hope to a lot of people who subscribe to different religion and different theology, But I'm just like, I used to, bro, I remember arguing this, but I remember I was on a choir trip. I was with the Manassas Youth Choir, the Manassas Youth Seventh Adventist Choir, and I'm telling them, bro, what? It's only one God, bro. The Buddhists, they praying to God, but they just calling him a different name, bro. But it's still their version of the Most High God. And someone asked me, they say, all right, so ask me this, so riddle me this, bro. You praying to Selassie your whole life or whatever, right? You get to heaven and you see Jesus. You don't think they could be like, who is this guy, right? And so in a world where Jesus said, depart from me, I don't know you. You think Jesus could be like, oh, I know you, but you don't know me. You understand what I'm saying? How weird it could be. You pray into this one. Let's use the Canaanite gods. You pray into Baal. You pray into Asherah. And you just thinking Asherah. You get up and you see this Most High God. And you're like, wait, who is you? Who is this? Like, how does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? How does that make sense? And a lot of things don't make sense. A lot of things would go with faith, but these two, they don't align to me,
And I guess I'll just pose the question to the audience and everyone who's listening. Because I used to share those similar beliefs as you too. And to me, we really started getting because it wasn't until college I really started to think otherwise. And let me just be completely honest and show my ignorance as I was growing up. And we all go on our journey. We all have our explorations about the Lord and what it means to be a Christian, what it means to be, a follower of Christ. And to me, here's the thing. So like, if we all serve one God, it didn't matter who you pray to. Yeah, Jesus had to die, but think about some of the things he just said while he was on earth. To know the Father, you have to know me. Yep. No one comes to the Father except through me. Yeah. And so certain things like this. So now no one comes to the Father but through me. And you spent your whole life forming a relationship with some other God. Because that's what it is at the end of the day. It's a relationship. It's a relationship that we have with Jesus. It's a relationship that we have with Jesus through the Father. It's this relationship that's going to get us into heaven and, faith and all that kind of stuff. So now if you form a relationship with Buddha, you form a relationship with Dagon, you form a relationship with Indra, all these other different gods, when the time comes, what you expect to happen.
Right. And how you loving the Lord? How you loving the Lord with all your heart if you don't even know who you loving?
Yeah, and go for it.
No, because when we read the Torah, they always talk about love the Lord with all your heart, and that comes after they talk about the commandments. You understand? After they talk about the decrees, but mostly the commandments. They talk about the commandments, then they talk about love the Lord with all your heart. That's why Jesus, when they asked him what is the two greatest commandments, he said, love the Lord with all your heart, love your neighbor as yourself, because the Pharisees should have already known that loving the Lord your God with all your heart. That was really, and bro, I learned this week that the Israelites, I don't know if they still do it now, or the Hebrews, they say that prayer all the time.
I said that in the podcast, the Shema.
Right, the Shema, right. You understand? So that just clicked to me this week. You understand what I'm saying? And so you should understand the relevance of this. Like, to know God is to love God, is to know him. You understand what I'm saying? And not go with everybody, bro. Like, you can't even really love somebody until you know this person. That's the only way you could actually love somebody. Like, you could have the affection for somebody, bro. You could have the intentionality, but you can't. But it's like you can't. Because God is love and God is like unconditional love. You can't really absorb. You can't really just give all the love to something that you don't even know how to give that love to. Essentially, what I trying to say. So I don't understand how it's like you could just get super acquainted with this thing, this person, this love or whatever. You get to heaven and only could be one of them. And it's not like it would have been different if all of us had different heavens to go to. That's how this thing would have been applicable. But if there's only one heaven and there's only one person who right, like I don't understand how all of us, how it could be a generally accepted thing that, oh, bro, it don't matter what religion. No, the truth, bro, the true religion matters. You know what I'm saying? And like, I'm not trying to attack somebody that has a different religious belief as me. But I'm saying, like, even within your religion, right? You have to think about the fact that it's only one truth. And we have to find that truth, all of us. You understand what I'm saying? And if we decide not to find that truth, we are saying that I am willing to live with the consequences of being wrong. And that's a reality that a lot of us don't know what that even feel like. You could say, oh, you eternally damned, going to hell, but nobody know what that really feel like, bro. Nobody know the type of agony and the pain we're going to experience. And one thing you have to realize is hell was not made for humans. Hell was made for the devil and his angels. You understand what I'm saying? Because of sin, people now are subject to being eternally damned as well. But that's not God's intention. God does not take delight in that. You understand what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you still have to work, and you still have to develop a relationship with God. Like, you can't just be chilling, like, God know my heart. You can't just be like, oh, it's whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it have to be intentionality. And that's what Joshua is telling the people who go, the half tribe of Manasseh, like I think it's Gad and the Reubenites. Y'all got to be intentional. Y'all about to be living, and for the rest of the tribe, y'all about to be living among the Canaanites. Don't be following them. That's a sure way. That's a sure way to do the wrong thing, And so yeah, I definitely agree on that. And I feel like even, bro, I just feel like truth and false and like falseness, if that's a word, is all around us every day, bro. You go online and people talking about manifesting, right? And they take this concept and then they attach it to like the stars, bro. They attach it to the sun and the galaxy, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so much, bro. And it's like, even things that you do believe in, people associate it with other stuff, like the rainbow. We understand the rainbow for one thing in the Bible. People associate it with something else. But I'm saying it's just so much different theology. It's so much different mindset out there. We are responsible for the truth, because otherwise It's the same thing. It's the same thing as like the Canaanites around. They had their own mindset, their own way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like these Canaanites was just going to be idiots. You know what I'm saying? Or they just was going to be savages. No, they just pagans, bro. The difference is they have different religious beliefs. Their religious beliefs lead them to do very wild things at times, but it might not be everybody who doing wild stuff. It might just be people who just worshiping the fake God, the God that is a abomination unto the Most High God, you know?
And to resist the urge to fight on this tangent, I'm gonna just show how the Bible like kind of proves some of these points too. We go in verse 24, the last chapter. So we see Joshua assemble the tribes of Israel near Shechem. Remember Shechem? Check out episode, I think it was like 14 with Dina and Shechem. Anyway, he summoned the elders, leaders, judges, and the officials of Israel and presented themselves before God. Joshua said to the people, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Long ago, your ancestors, including your Terah, the father of Abraham and Nahor, lived beyond the Euphrates rivers and worshipped other gods. But I took your father Abraham from the land beyond the Euphrates and led him throughout Canaan and gave him many descendants." The reason why I say like this part right here, like Abraham was in that environment where other idols was worshipped, but you see God still was like, you are like a righteous man among the heathens. So I'm like, even though, like you said, we're in this land with so much distractions, and we should probably do an episode dedicated to this. So I'm not going to harbor on this point too long, but even though we're in a world surrounded by darkness, because we got to know the type of world we're living in, like the enemy, the devil, is really pushing his agenda hard in many facets, not like in many facets. It's our job, each and every individual, to search the truth among the darkness, because the truth is there. And sometimes it's staring you in just right in your face, but sometimes it's like you don't want to accept it, or you don't like, you know, so the Bible says, "Seek and you will find." Like, that's essentially what it is. Like, if you seek the truth, like the Holy Spirit will work and you will find the truth. Like, and this goes beyond borders, goes beyond religion. Like, God is still God. And if you're seeking him, like he's constantly the door knocking at your heart. So if you're earnestly seeking God and you're seeking the truth will be revealed to you. So I just might think like we all have throughout all the noise and the mess, we can still decipher God's will. Because like example we said on earlier, the thief on the cross, this man was like about to die, moments away from dying. He had a bad life, but he realized who was next in the Savior. And through all the noise that was going on, he still was able to find paradise. You know what I'm saying? So now, then Moses, picking up in verse 4, then I sent Moses and Aaron and I afflicted the Egyptians by what I did there, and I brought you out. When I brought the people out of Egypt, you came to the sea, and the Egyptians pursued you with chariots and horsemen as far as the Red Sea. But they cried to the Lord for help. And he put a darkness between you and the Egyptians, and he brought the sea over them and covered them. You saw with your own eyes what I did to the Egyptians. Then you lived in the wilderness for a long time. 40 years, a good while. I brought you to the land of the Amorites who lived east of Jordan. They fought against you, but I gave them into your hands, and I destroyed them before you, and you took possession of their land. When Balak, son of Zippor, the king of Moab, prepared to fight against Israel, and he sent for Balaam, son of Beor, to put a curse on you. But I would not listen to Balaam. So he blessed you again and again, and I delivered you out of his hand. And that's interesting too, because like we know they were being blessed by Balaam on the mountain while they were down in the valley quarreling. From verse 11, then you crossed the Jordan and came to Jericho. The citizens of Jericho fought against you, as did the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, but I gave them into your hands. I sent a hornet ahead of you, which drove them out before you. Also the 2 Amorite kings. You did not do it with your own sword and bow. So I gave you the land on which you did not toil, and the cities did not build, and you live in them, and eat from their vineyards and the olive groves you did not plant. That's powerful. And that's something I almost even overlooked in my own mind. Bro, y'all didn't have to build these cities.
No, bro.
That's a powerful thing to because we read it and we like in my mind I was even skipping over that fact. No, you guys are taking over a city that's already built. It's so different than when you have to go to build it yourself. But God gave them a land which everything was already planted, already settled upon, already built. Like Man, I know.
That's what I was
Tangent
thinking.
again, right?
That's
But
what I was thinking about last episode, bro. Like when they riding through and they just collecting like
and like to
they
me,
frog for snake. I think I even said that last episode, bro. Like
yeah, but because like to me, it just reminds me when Jesus was like, "Yeah, I go to prepare a place for you." Like in my father's house, there are many mansions, and to me, it was like they was gone for 400 plus years in Egypt. They came back, and the place was prepared for them.
Fully furnished, yeah.
There was many mansions, many houses, many groves, and many vineyards. It was like ready cultivated. Like they went away and they came back, and it was ready fully established. Like to me, that's powerful.
That's crazy.
And so now, verse 14. Now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods your ancestors worship beyond the Euphrates rivers and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. But if the Lord seems undesirable to you, but if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you're living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. A very, very popular line right there. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. And then the people answered, far be it for us to forsake the Lord to serve other gods. It was the Lord our God himself who brought us up out of our parents and our parents out of Egypt, from that land of slavery, and performed those great things before our eyes. He protected us in our entire journey and among all the nations through which we traveled. And the Lord drove us before the nations, including the Amorites who lived in the land. We too will serve the Lord because he is our God. Joshua said to the people, you are not able to serve the Lord. He is a holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your rebellion and your sins. If you forsake the Lord and serve foreign gods, he will turn and bring disaster on you and make an end of you after he has been good to you. The people said, no, we will serve the Lord. They doubling down on this. Yeah. Joshua said, you are a witness against yourselves that you have chosen to serve the Lord. They said, yes, we are witnesses. Now Joshua said, throw away the foreign gods that are among you and yield to your hearts the God of Israel. So I wonder if they was just like keeping them as souvenirs or something like, or I guess
sneakily
dabbling in the arts, the dark arts. And the people said to Joshua, we will serve the Lord God and obey him. On that day, Joshua made a covenant with the people there at Shechem. He reaffirmed the decrees and laws, and Joshua recorded those things in the book of the law of God. He took a large stone and set up there under the oak tree near the holy place of the Lord. See, he said to all the people, the stone will be a witness against us. It has heard all the words the Lord has said to us. It will be a witness against you if you are untrue to your God. Then Joshua dismissed the people each to their own inheritance. And then we see Joshua died at the age of 110. Powerful. And they buried him in the land of his inheritance. Israel served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and of the elders who outlived him and who had experienced everything the Lord had done for Israel. So that's powerful. So we see like during that time, they remained good.
Yep.
And we see, remember, Joseph wanted to be buried in the land, so the Israelites brought his bones from Egypt, and he was buried in Shechem in the tract of land that Jacob had bought for 100 pieces of silver. My word, that's just, I mean, it's still the same city, so obviously it would still be there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy though. Been there a while.
Yeah.
And so that became the inheritance of Joseph's descendants. And then Eleazar, son of Aaron, died and was buried in Gibeah, which had been allotted to his son Phinehas in the hill country of Ephraim. And so that ends the book of Joshua.
Boy, we in for a wild ride in Judges.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Oh, will it?
It's gonna be fun. But to me, in closing, Joshua, the whole, how it sums up to me is just be strong and courageous. Like, that's literally the theme of this book, be strong and courageous. Like Joshua, we see how God was with Joshua. Had to reaffirm that to Joshua several times, but then we see at the end of the book, Joshua was so strong and courageous, he was passing that on to all the Israelites, giving them strength, giving them encouragement, saying, hey guys, you can do this. Like the land is there for your conquering. We've already done all the hard work. Like God will still drive them out. And his famous line too, you guys can do what you want, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Like that's a powerful line, because going back to what me and Kaz was talking about probably about 10 minutes ago now, but throughout all the darkness and wickedness you see happening in the world, we have the power of free choice. We have the power of choice and free will. Who are you going to serve? Like, the choice is yours. And we make this choice. Some people say every day, but I think every second of every day, because it's in those little moments where you really have to choose, am I going to do this or this? One choice I know God will be pleased with, and one choice I know he won't be pleased with. We are making this choice every day. And so the question is really on you. Who will you serve? God or the others?
Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. This was the command given to Joshua, the newly appointed leader of the Israelites, and he followed that command for the rest of his life. The Israelites are now pretty much settled into the promised land, but they're not alone and without a leader. Under Joshua's rule, along with the elders, they served the Lord. But what will happen if left unsupervised? We'll talk more about that on the intro to the book of Judges on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.